Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beard Brigade. I'm John Solo. You're not, and you know all that horse shit. Look at this. Don't tell Jody. This is not the mushroom coffee. I ground the Black Rifle, and I'm drinking a cup of good coffee right now. We're in between sessions, so nobody tell. We got a lot going on this week. It's an exciting week. It's of course Monday, which is my busiest day in the world. I don't know why everybody contacts me on Monday, but they do. We're right in the middle of a Nora Phoenix book, which is fantastic. We're working on the Foster Brothers book one. It's Jilted, and it's really good. I'm a Nora fan anyways. I've worked on a lot of Nora projects, and I don't say that because she hires me. I don't fucking care. But it's really good. This one has so much character development. It's amazing to me. So we're about halfway through it. We're actually going to be doing an evening session tonight. That's not my regular thing anymore. But after the Talk to the Beard session, if you want to join me in Discord after dinner time, 6:37ish Eastern Standard JST, we'll be in there. And then tomorrow we should be wrapping that one up. We're moving on to God, I can't remember what we're moving on to next. We're moving on to something after that, and I'm sure it's going to be fun. It's in the ticker somewhere there if you want to look. Friday, we got the Ramblin' Gremlin show popping up again. Little Lissa Gremlin's got a surprise for you this time as well, which is going to be awesome. And then Sunday, we are going to be around for morning coffee. I'm in town for another 3 weeks before we do another jeeping trip, so it should be just kind of a regular week. I've got a couple story time episodes going to be popping this week, too. One is for another of the Vet Shop Boys books, because that's going to be coming out pretty soon. And I have another one sitting in the background waiting for little Patty Logan's book that we just finished up on Blood Red Moon. So I'm going to be posting up those at some point this week, too. Thank you, Tracy Johns, my lovely TNA, Stronghold by Anna Ashley. And that is book, I don't know, 27 of Vino and Veritas, the series that keeps all us narrators employed. It's going to be wonderful, I'm sure. But this guest I have on today, we've not had this one on before. We're very excited. This is a string of guests that Tracy has started to book through one of her fellow personal assistant friends, which is wonderful. But I think this one's going to fit right in. Without any more from me, even though I'm going to keep on talking, of course, I give you Carly Marie. Hello, Carly. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm groovy. We were talking a little bit ago here off the air. And by the way, I got to get to the fact that you have chickens, and I really want to talk about that. Don't let me forget.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but we were talking a little bit about listening to music when you're writing and how you can't do it. I've heard authors on both sides of the fence here. So tell me what you can't do about it. What don't you like?
I end up writing the words because when I listen to music, I actually listen to the lyrics. It's not just the music. A lot of people have it just for background. That's not me. I listen to every single word. And when I do that, all of a sudden I'm typing out the lyrics to the songs that I'm listening to instead of the words to the books I should be writing.
Well, it makes sense that you're a word person, so my wife and I have this thing. I was a professional musician before I became an audiobook narrator back in a previous life, and so I did this one of my regular gigs was I was just acoustic guitar and sang, right? And I was like a request rock guy. I would set up in a bar. It's 8 o'clock at night. You know the drill. The nicer people leave, and now we got the grungy evening crowd that I'm going to entertain while they get hammered. And people would just shout out to me, play me some Sticks. And I'd be like, all right, I know a Styx song. Play me some Skinner, because I'm in Ohio, like you, by the way. And
I am.
all these, and I would be able to play whatever. And a lot of times I never played the song in my life. And it's like, I bet you I can play a Skinner song. Unfortunately, though, I suck with words. I suck with lyrics, and I never listen to words. I don't do that. So my wife was in the crowd. My wife only listens to words and doesn't know anything about music, but she would like mouth the words from the crowd in advance to me. We had this system down. It was,
That's
I'd be
epic.
like, yeah, it worked like a charm, man. It was
It's
really good.
amazing.
Yeah, we worked as a team like that. But yeah, so you listen to all the words.
I do. I'm not somebody who could tell you a note to save my life. I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. My husband listens to music all the time, but he has no clue what any of the words are.
Yeah.
ever. And he's like, "Wait, what are you talking about? What are you what?" And I'm like, "How did you not how did you not know that?" And he's like, "I've never listened to the words." How don't you listen to the words?
It happens to me a lot. So he's probably one of the guys. So many times, one of my bands years ago. Actually, it's funny because this mentioned Styx. One of my bands years ago was going to record a cover of a Styx song. I think it's called Renegade. It's a "Oh Mama, I'm in fear for my life from that one."
Okay.
We'd been performing this song on stage for several years, and it was a popular song. People really liked it, and we kind of smush it in the middle of our original tunes, and people really enjoyed it. We get into the studio to record it. This is back in the '90s before you could just whip out the words on the computer. I didn't know any of the words. Like we're recording it, and the producer's like, "You guys, you can't do this song. He doesn't know the words. What the fuck's going on?" Yeah, it's a story of my life. So, somebody in the crowd, another author actually asked, "What about instrumentals? Can you listen to instrumentals, or it's just not your
No, then
thing?"
they drive me nuts. I am not the classical music listener. I cannot do it. I'm like, where's the words? This is boring. And then the next thing I know, I've been like staring at my computer screen for 10 minutes and there's nothing there. Actually, if I'm going to listen to anything, there was a while there that my husband and I shared an office space, and he was in open mic meetings all the time. So there were times that I was like, I cannot listen to you and get any work done. So I would put earbuds in, but there's a YouTube channel that plays 10 hours of white noise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually what I would listen to. And then every once in a while, an ad would pop in and it would scare the ever loving shit out of me. I would scream and like almost fall out of my chair. And my husband would be like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Sorry, there was an ad." An ad had the nerve to break through my white noise.
I've done that before in the booth. I'm actually normally I use in ears. My in ears are in the shop right now, so I'm using headphones. But I used to I'd pipe in real soft in the background, just kind of some no couldn't be lyrics, but instrumental music. And you can go into Spotify, that sort of thing, and you can just type in, like background music hip hop or background music pop or whatever, and it'll just play instrumental shit. And it worked really well. The problem was is that I could never predict you goddamn authors. You'd be in the middle of a scene and it'd be like an action scene and I got some action background music. Then all of a sudden the emotion would switch in the scene and fuck if my music wasn't appropriate and I wouldn't switch at the right time. So that didn't work out very well for me. But yeah. So where are you in Ohio? I think
I'm in
we've actually
Akron.
Akron. Have we
Yeah.
talked before? Because
We
when
have at
Trace
GRL.
yeah, so Trace, when she booked you, I was like, dude, I know I've met Carly before. I know it.
Yep.
Um, that makes
I
sense.
was a
So
newbie
Akron,
back then, though. So,
I think, aren't we all?
yeah.
Well, how long have you been at it now?
I'm going on year 4. October will be year 4. So
Yeah,
no, I said October. December will be year 4. So really, I've just started year 3, I guess. But I was at GRL in 19. So I was
okay.
only whopping 8 months, 9 months, something like that.
That one felt to me, I was scared out of my mind at that one. That was my first convention. Well, it was second convention I'd ever done, but that was the first year I was doing conventions, and I was just frightened. I didn't know what to do.
It was very overwhelming, especially for an introvert.
We get
I
a
was like,
lot of
there are
those.
people. There are people. What do
Well,
I do with people?
we get a lot of those at GRL, and it's funny to me now, but because trust me, I am way more introverted than I appear to be by far, and I tend to just hide in the background unless I'm entertaining people. There's only two modes to me. There's I'm going to entertain you or I'm hiding. There's one or the other.
Hmm.
But that being said, it's funny now. We brought I say we, the Brigadiers, my group of peeps here. We brought a couple people that were saying the same thing to GRL this year. And dude, once you get them in with, because the GRL people, y'all are alike. And once you
Oh,
get them
no.
in there, and
Yeah,
yeah, it works. It really
it
does.
does. It really does. It's not as scary. I'm excited to go back this year. Like that's I skipped last year, but this year I'm excited. I'm like, I'm ready for people again, I think.
You're
I'll
doing the
say that
Virginia one?
now. I'm gonna do the Virginia one.
Good. It's gonna be fun. Are you driving?
Yes, I'm actually gonna pick up Charlie Novak.
Really?
She's flying in from the UK. So she's flying into DC, and I was like, I actually will drive straight through DC, so I may as well stop and pick you up.
Well, we are getting another author friend, and she's flying in from Germany into Columbus, and we're grabbing her and going out. So it's going to be a whole
Hmm.
crowd this year. It should. Last year was kind of tame. It was I don't know, probably half of the normal crowd. So this
Oh
year is supposed to
yeah.
be back up to normal. I think
Hmm.
um, should be good. But yeah. Oh, by the way, somebody also just mentioned one of your dragony books. Do you do dragony
Oh,
books?
well, I did a dragon age play book. So kind of like puppy play, but instead of being a puppy, it was a dragon. He was a dragon.
That's a bit larger. That's
Yeah, yeah, it was really cute. It actually came about. Um, I came across I can't remember his Instagram or Twitter, and it was just the cutest post. And I was like, oh my gosh, look, it's a dinosaur. And he jokingly wrote back, he's like, I am a dragon. And I was like, oh, you're a dragon. This makes it even like more exciting. And so then like the plot bunnies started.
hmm
So I explored dragon play.
the dragon thing is. I feel like 2022 and 2023 are going to be the year of the dragon because every time I hear dragons come up, like the fans are all just dragon. Where? What? How? Yeah,
I
it's a big
I
deal.
don't even do a lot of like I don't read a lot of paranormal, and I definitely get sucked into the dragon shifters and that type of stuff. I'm like, "Oh, dragons."
It surprises me. You'd mentioned writing the lyrics. Now you read in this genre as well, do you?
Mhm,
I now, admittedly, like this would not be the genre that I would pleasure read normally. There are a couple authors that I would certainly read, but it's just not my. I'm more of a fantasy sci-fi guy. That's kind of what I'm
mhm,
into. That being said, I've found like I've tried to listen to other narrators doing our genre, and some of them, dude, we have such a talented group of authors and narrators in the genre. It's amazing,
mhm.
but I can't listen. I start copying them.
Oh, I could believe that.
It just absolutely. It isn't a bad thing. Like when you listen to somebody like Greg or
Mhm,
Boudreaux or somebody like that, where they're just so goddamn good. But we all kind of have our own distinctive style, and if I listen to more than 10 minutes of it, I'll listen to a sample, and that's it. If I go any longer, and
mhm.
then I just start fucking copying and sounding, and I can't do it. I would think that would be a deal with an author too. Do you ever find yourself just mimicking or?
I think it becomes more of an imposter syndrome at that point because I get sucked into a book and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is so good." And then I'm like, "My writing's nowhere near this good. What the hell am I even trying to do?"
I get it.
So I have to be careful, and I really have to be careful of like frame of mind at the time when I'm reading something. I do a lot of rereads. I'm not this is going to be shocking to people, I'm sure, that they know me. I don't like drama and I don't like angst. Very shocking. Um, and so if new books, I spend like the whole book going, are they going to break up? Is something going to happen? Are they going to break up? Are they going to break up? Are they going to break up? What's going to happen? Oh God, I'm at 60%. When's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? What? I, I'm like a nervous reader. So I end up doing a whole lot of rereads. Um, and I think that helps a little bit with like the imposter syndrome and like the trying not to compare myself or to write like someone else because everybody has their own voice. I have to remind myself of that all the time. I'm like, no, I've got my own voice and my readers like me. They don't need me to be this author or this author or this author just because I enjoy reading them. My readers like my voice. And so I kind
That's
of
a
have to
huge.
like
It's a huge
push that to the
point.
side.
Yeah, I had to come to that as a narrator where I realized that nobody can be John Solo.
Mhm.
I do that very well. And even though some like Greg is one I keep on bringing up. That motherfucker is just so amazing. And every time I hear him, I'm just like, fuck. Like I will
Yeah.
never be that. He's always a couple of years ahead of me.
Mhm.
But people hire me specifically to be me, not him. And he can do things I can't, and I can do things he can't, and it works out just
Right.
fine. It's a great point. Um, People are still talking about dragon books in the fucking comments, which is hilarious to me. Okay, I got to ask now. So you're in Akron. 14
Yes.
chickens? You got 14 chickens still, or is that number
Y
depleted? You ate
we
them
might
all?
have 12 now. I think that we had a couple of losses over the winter. Um, but yes, we've had chickens for many a years, and the kids love them. I could take them or leave them at this point.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we pat them. I'm kind of done with them, but the kids love them. They've named them all. It's a chicken.
Well, you have to live outside of Akron then. Are you in Akron proper? I've been to Akron quite a bit.
We are not in Akron proper. We are a northwest exurb almost. We're
Okay.
in Copley, so small little town. Kind of
Well,
a weird place to, find
I'm
myself.
I'm very familiar with Akron. That is like I'm a recovering alcoholic, and Akron is
Okay.
like our mecca. That's where we come once a year. We have Founders Day. That's where um, I I I will say 12-step program just to be out of respect for the people that helped me. But the 12-step program I'm a member of started there back in the 1930s,
Oh
and
wow.
there. Yeah, there's a house there of one of our founders that we've managed to buy up so we can have kind of a place to store our archives. And he's buried in the town. And we actually invade Zip Stadium once a year
Okay.
in the middle of June. And we have a big
Uh huh.
gathering. It's like a 3-day event. And there's like
Oh
20
wow.
or 30,000 of us. It's amazing. But yeah, in the middle of June, if you see a shit ton of Harley guys coming through your town, that's exactly what's happening. That's what's going
Yep.
on.
Yep.
There's a line of like 2,000 of them. It's ridiculous. But
Wow. That's it's funny. I live here and unless it's between, here and the ice rink, I don't get out much.
you go to the ice rink a lot?
I have 3 hockey players.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, that has to be the. Now, I like cold, but Jesus Christ, that's got to be a rough one because you got to, being the hockey mom, you got to get in
Oh,
there.
the hockey mom. It is a special kind of mom. It is, let me tell you. Honestly, we all have our favorite rinks, and we compare our hand warmers, and I walk in and I'm also team manager, so I walk in and I've got the bag full of blankets. I've got my regular purse. I've got my bag full of all of my hockey stuff, like for the score sheets and all of this type of stuff. And my purse always has like hockey repair kits and hockey tape. Somebody's like, "Do you have tape?" I'm like, "Well, I've got hockey tape." And they're like, "What? Why would you have that in your purse?" And it's like, "I've got hockey players. Why wouldn't I have hockey tape in my purse? I don't have scotch tape, but I've got hockey tape. It'll work." Um,
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
but like, I don't know if you're familiar with Illyria. It's up on the
Mm-hmm.
lake.
Oh, yeah.
Bitterly, bitterly, bitterly cold. And
Mm-hmm.
their rink is open air.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It gets so cold that their ice frosts and you can't see the lines. So, like, we spent the whole last game, it was like 8 degrees out. The
Is it like
kids are skating with hoodies under their jerseys and they're still frozen.
you're saying open air? Like this isn't like just the tops open. You're like on like a lake kind of open air kind
It's
of.
well, it's a rink, but the whole back wall is open. It's just a chain link fence,
Oh my God.
and then like half of the other walls. And we will do anything in our power to avoid going up there. And the parents are miserable too, but the person who set up the fund to build the rink put it as a stipulation that it must remain open air.
They got to be Russian bastards. That's what they are.
Oh my god, it was so cold. It was so, so cold up there. But then sometimes you have games that are canceled because it's too warm and the ice melts.
I get that too. Elyria is, dude, Lake Erie, the wind that comes in off that thing. You don't,
Oh,
I don't want to go anywhere like, Sandusky, that sort of thing in the winter. And I
mhm,
like the cold a lot. There's a difference though between cold. I love cold. I love winter. I love snow, but wind sucks. And that's
mhm.
what's coming in there. That's horrible.
Oh,
Oh,
that wind is bitter. See, I grew up in Columbus.
cool. So you know my weather.
Yes, so,
It's
like, actually, funny little story, um, Nick Russo and I grew up
mhm.
on the same neighborhood,
No shit.
same darn street. It was actually a mutual friend, his sister, his older sister, and I, share a friend, and she texts me one day and she goes, do you know that Nick is," and I'm like, "No." She's like, "Yeah." And
Wow.
I texted him and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna sound really creepy here, but I think we grew up on the same street." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I do." I'm older than he is by maybe 5 years, I can't remember.
Mm.
But he was like, "I remember you." Yeah,
Well, if because I'm not positive. I've known Nick a long time, but I'm pretty sure that he is still on the same street, if I
he
remember
is.
correctly. Yeah, so they
Uh-huh.
just, him and his lovely wife Jess just bought that house finally off of his parents, and they're
Yeah.
very excited
I
about it.
happened to be down there and I texted him and I said, "I drove by the neighborhood and oh my god, the house looks amazing."
Yeah, really, I
Like,
didn't
okay, again,
recognize it.
really creepy, like random person, like, but hey, your house looks amazing.
They did a great
My
job on
husband
it.
was like, he's like, you sound like a freak. And I'm like, shut up.
No, it makes sense. See, and you get to have something like people like that. That now, obviously, you moved at this point, but
Hmm.
um, my wife has only lived in like three houses in her life, and she can only remember two of them. The one that she grew up in from like 5 years old until we got married, pretty much, and where
Hmm.
we live now. Now, we had a couple little places when we were moving around, but we've lived here
Hmm.
25 years, close to it. I've lived in, I mean, I can't count it. 50
Oh,
places? I don't know.
neither can I.
Yeah, we moved every 6 months when I was a kid, and it was just a lot. So, yeah, I'm jealous of those people like Nick that can just, like, here's where I played when I was 4. I don't fucking
Yeah.
know where I played
I'm
when I
like,
was.
oh my gosh. Okay. So, yeah. But they did a fantastic job on that house. That house,
Uh-huh.
gorgeous.
I didn't recognize when I helped him with his booth like 6 or 8 months ago, and I
Hmm.
pulled in and like I had to double check. I've been there 100 times. I had to double check. Like I hadn't been here in a couple of years. Is this the
Yeah.
same house? Yeah, they did that. It's the Doc Brown from Back to the Future, the garage door. It's the same
Yes.
fucking garage door. I swear to God, it looks sweet.
I drove, like, I did a double take. I was like, and what the? And he goes, when I had texted him, I guess they had just had it done like not even a week before.
Hmm.
And he was like, if we just got it done, I was like, it looks phenomenal.
Made all the difference in the world. I'll tell you that.
It did. It really, it brightened that house up. Oddly enough, it brightened it up quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. Um, everybody, wow, that would bore me so bad. Sorry, I'm reading the comments here at the same time. So we were talking earlier, and I thought it was interesting. So I want to back up for a second. And
Okay.
this was in regards to you're reading a book and you're reading in the genre, and you're a nervous reader, and you're like, are they going to get together? Are they going to break up? What's going to fucking
Hmm.
happen? I cannot suspend my disbelief anymore. I am so far beyond that. And I'm jealous of people that can. And I think my best friend and I have talked about this a lot, and she does this with all books. I struggle with it now too because I guess I've got a little bit of insider information. Like I know the formula.
Hmm. Right.
I know how this goes together, and I
Hmm.
have a hard time not seeing that. It's
Right.
pretty rare for me to not just be thinking about the nuts and bolts in the background.
Mhm.
How do you manage to disconnect like that? I don't. I'm jealous. Please tell me the secret.
No, so it's not even like it's the formula is so predictive, honestly, at times that I get very caught up in like that that dramatic breakup, right? And I'm so emotional when I read. I don't normally cry. I'm not a crier. But if I read or if I watch a movie, like I'll be bawling. And my husband will look over at me sometimes and he's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I'm reading a book." And he's like, "Are you sure? Like that's it?" Like, and I'm like, "I'm just reading." And he's like, "Your shirt is wet." He's like, "You're crying so hard, your shirt is wet."
You're lactating.
And he's like, and he goes, "You're really stressful to watch like movies with and stuff because you're like on edge all the time." And so I tend to gravitate toward authors that I know their books don't have that dramatic breakup, because that
Mhm.
breakup scene just causes me so much emotional overload, and I end up spending the whole book worrying about the breakup scene than enjoying the story and like going through that building of the relationship. And yeah, I don't think that it's even like it's not a disconnect. It's more of like the okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen, but how long is it going to last? Because hey, you can read some books that it's 3 pages.
Mhm.
You can read some that all of a sudden they've broken up at 30% in. And you're like, I've got another how long until you get back together now? So I don't know. It's
It has to play well into your writing because you're a reader of the genre, you enjoy the
Mhm,
genre, and you're having the same reaction that I've observed 1,000 times at this point. I work in Discord every day, and
mhm,
I have a lot of close friends from the Brigadiers at this point that are with me most every day. It's kind of like their water cooler. Whatever they're doing through the
mhm.
day, I'm their free entertainment, basically. They get to watch me work, and we all just hang out. We like each other. And I use them a lot as kind of a sounding board of if I'm hitting the mark or if I'm not. If I
Mhm,
can look over and see that good reaction, I am shocked at how many times they have a reaction to a scene that I saw coming 3 miles away.
mhm.
Um, and they probably did too. These are not stupid people. It's just
Right.
that they have bought into it. They care
Mhm,
about the why. And
mhm,
my friends and I have talked about this a lot. We know they're gonna get together. We know there's gonna be an HEA, but they care
mhm.
about how it happened and why it happened. Whereas
Sure.
I see the end, and it takes a lot to now. That being said, I can turn on my emotions when so called upon to do. I'm a fucking actor and we do it. And
Mhm,
sometimes it's even real tears that come out, but it takes a lot to get me to that point. This has to play well into your writing because you know how to stretch that a little bit longer. You know what would affect me as a reader. Do you find
mhm.
yourself writing? And you're writing like that, so you're writing for yourself almost.
I think I do. The I started writing. I'm actually dyslexic. So when I was in high school, I've always my brain just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. But in high school, I needed an outlet, and I knew what I wanted to read, but it's so hard for me to process words on a page, to pick up a book and just read, that it's easier for me to write. So I started writing the stories in my head instead of actually reading books. And I did that for years and years and years until I found the genre. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, this all clicks. Like this all makes, I love this genre. And my husband kept encouraging me. He was like, try to publish. He goes, all these authors that you're reading right now are self published. He's like, why can't you try it? I looked over and I said, nobody wants to read the sweet stuff. Because at the time, it was always those like really dramatic breakups and the real, like all of the drama. And I'm like, nobody wants to read the stuff that they don't break up in. And my husband was like, why don't you just try? And so I did. And I discovered that, hey, people do like the sweet stuff. But what it is there has to be that point. It's the same point in the book where you expect that breakup, where you expect them to go, I'm done. But they kind of take a minute and they go, yeah, I could leave, or I could make this, I'm stronger with him. We can make this work, but we have to talk it out. We have to, and that's where the emotion comes from for me, is where you could have that really emotional breakup. That point is really them figuring out how to work together as a team.
Well, and a cock in the butt, I found.
That too.
Sorry, I can't.
Sometimes.
Sometimes I can't help
Sometimes.
myself.
But no, it is. I mean, it's the same formula, but it's a different approach.
That's fantastic,
You
though,
still
and
have to have that drama. You still have to have that that pull, that tension.
mhm. Well, and that puts a particular Carly Marie style on it, as opposed to, again,
Yes.
like we were talking about earlier, kind of mimicking. There are a lot of people in the crowd are absolutely supportive of what you're saying right now and saying, "Well, we're like you." They're obviously, I mean, people follow you in here, and I'm sure, but it's a fantastic thing you're doing and a fantastic angle. I wish that I could come to that. I can, I can sometimes, but obviously, even though we work in the same genre, we have very different jobs. So,
Sure.
what I do, I have to be thinking about the nuts and bolts of it sometimes as
Oh
well.
yeah.
And I absolutely, I can't read. I can't remember. Maybe it hasn't happened to you, but for me, I can't remember the last time I read a book for pleasure. It was like I've been an audiobook narrator for a decade now, and I listen to sometimes like nonfiction when I'm driving back and forth to meetings. But other than that, like I can't remember the last time I just don't have time. It's a book or two a week.
Yeah, I could believe that. I do. I make time to read. Actually, reading is such a big part of our family that our kids are a little bit older. From we finally realized, hey, family story time doesn't really work anymore. They're older. The older ones are really bored. The younger ones are fighting over books, and so we created 20 minutes a night where we just sit down as a family and we take in some sort of book.
Dude, that's awesome.
So we'll do, I tell the kids, I'm like, I don't care if it's a graphic novel, I don't care if it's a comic book. I don't care if you're reading a news article. What I want is for you to be taking information somehow.
Mhm.
So we sit down as a family every 20 minutes every night, and we just read a book that interests us.
That is an absolutely wonderful concept. We did not do that with my child, and he was only in juvie for like 4 years. So I think it turned out. I wish I was joking, but
Small miracles.
exactly. Well, your kids are probably not gonna, but they beat the shit out of each other already. They're playing hockey. So
Oh yeah.
does that happen when they're playing hockey? By the way, because I know it does when they're adults, but
Um my youngest two are too young. My oldest is literally just getting to that point. But even in like the 10U, which is the squirts, my 10-year-old, surprising squirt, she can definitely, like, she knows when it's okay to make contact because you're going for the puck. And she knows how to make that contact. And she's not afraid. I mean, the kid is 5 foot tall and all of 72 pounds. And I have seen her level a couple of kids. Totally clean hits, totally clean contact. It was making a play for the puck. But I'm like, when this kid gets to peewees and bantams, when it's fighting and checking, I'm like, this kid is gonna, it- she's gonna be a force. Thankfully, they don't take the fights off the ice at home, but we have enough fights to begin with. So, I mean, I've got four
yeah.
girls. So,
I don't know how anybody would deal with that.
I
I
don't.
was raised, yeah, I was raised in a family of
There's a
four
lot of
boys, so
alcohol. There's a lot of drinking.
do it,
There
man.
is.
It's a powerful drug, and it really helps on a number of occasions. Um, I can't. My wife had just her and her sisters, so it's two girls. I was raised with four boys, and there's such a distinctive communication difference between the two of us. Do you ever read that Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus book
I haven't read
thing?
it, but I've heard enough excerpts at this point.
Yeah, that's us through and through. I communicate very differently, and sarcasm is a big thing amongst most men. That's a lot of how we communicate as well. And okay, there's a good experimental question for girls. So your husband's the only. Is sarcasm a thing that gets used a lot with you all, or are you just like
Oh,
literal serious?
we are about the most sarcastic family you could probably ever meet.
I'm
My
jealous.
husband and I pretty much communicate in sarcasm half the time. It goes so far over my mother-in-law's head. I have to be really careful. I don't know where my husband came from his parents because he is so different. Um, he and we have really dry humor and we are really sarcastic and we'll say something and my mother-in-law will look at me and be like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes. Yes, really."
Yeah, that's
And he's just like he's over there going, "Oh god." Like, "Would you just stop? Would you stop antagonizing my mother?" And I'm like, "Come on. We're talking about an 80-year-old woman. She should be able to figure this out."
it's become a problem over the years. Now, my understand things like my wife is like, you talk to your mother like shit. Like you treat her like hell. Because I'm like, Ma, be careful when you get up. You're gonna break the floor. We say shit like that, and and my mom just she's that's the way we were all raised. I mean, it
Uh-huh.
came from her. She knows the sarcastic, joking thing
Yeah,
that goes on. Yeah. That's interesting though, that you are in fact the opposite of what I would think with the four girls. So good for you. And
yeah,
plus
no, we are my 13-year-old, she's got a mouth like a sailor on her. That's all me. She has some pretty creative uses for the word fuck. And I look at her and I'm like, you know what? As long as you know the appropriate places to use it, I don't care.
yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, but as soon as I get a call from school, I'm blaming your dad. And he's like, oh
Well,
no, 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 no. He's like, because that all comes from you. My 10-year-old now. I mean, we've gone to hockey games for years and years. And there was one day, she was like 8, and we're sitting in the stands, and she goes, "What the fuck call was that? Are you blind, ref?" And I'm like, "Oh god." And the guy behind me, like we're all season ticket holders, and he kind of pokes me and he goes, "Did she just say what I think she said?" I was like, "Yeah, she did." And he's like, "Oh my god, that's awesome." Just like,
that's
and
excellent.
so then
Well, you're
like I'm over here going, "You have to watch your language. There's kids in front of us." By kids, I mean like 14-year-olds.
and you're raising a bunch of hockey players. What do you expect? I mean,
I am. I'm raising hockey players. They are gonna have a mouth on them.
yeah, just throw in raw meat occasionally, and
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, they are. You don't want to see my grocery bill. Like people say, boys are expensive to raise. They haven't raised girl hockey players.
uh,
That 70-pound kid can put away more than me and my husband combined. And then she'll look at
well,
me 10 minutes later and go, "Mom, I'm hungry."
it's gonna burn a lot of calories doing what they do. There's no doubt. Um, oh yeah, I forgot here. Is it true? Do you write a lot of daddy books? Is that what's going
I
on
do.
here? Okay. Um,
I do.
I going through well, and I was talking to Tracy beforehand, and she's like she writes a lot of daddy stuff. I've had to come to terms with that over the course of the last. I've done a lot of daddy books in my time. It's been my voice, and I get character.
Right.
So regardless, um, here's my problem with it. Every time and you're in a sex scene, and they're like, "Daddy, yes, please," and they do that thing, the first thing that comes to my mind is my fucking father. That's because they're saying the word daddy. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
I
Oh,
know. So you see if you don't want that to come up in my mind, what you wouldn't the last thing you would say is daddy. But no, it turns out that's I really had to come to terms with it. I was talking to Nora Phoenix about this recently, and I had to because she writes a lot of daddy shit, and I had to
yeah.
really work my way. I've kind of I think that I've come upon a way in my mind to not think of my father when I moan the word daddy in a sex scene, I think.
Okay.
It's taken some time. Now
Okay.
I'm not gonna necessarily disclose the secret here. It's a little acting trick in my head, but I'm here to tell you that I think it can be done. You write a lot of daddy stuff. Do
Mhm.
you do you think contextually not my dad? I mean, is that
God, no. God, the last thing I want to think about while writing a book is my father. But
you're saying daddy? I mean, it just
but my dad is dad, right? Like, so even my husband, uh, he's not like, to our kids, he's not daddy. He never has been. Actually, he's daddo. He's been daddo for as long as I can remember, and like to the point that I call him daddo. I'm like, hey daddo, we need this. Hey daddo. It's that's just like his name. But I think that's the one thing that a lot of people, I've heard that, like, struggle when that dynamic is, it's not a native dynamic for some people to understand. And I have heard that, well, how do you not think of your parent? And I'm like, well, because it's my dad. He's not my daddy. Ew.
I know. It just
So it's like no, will not go there ever. Now the next
I
time it comes up, I'm gonna see a picture of my father and I'm gonna cuss you.
okay, so try, you're writing that and all, but try now sounding natural while you're moaning that you're fucking your father, and you just try sounding natural and sexy. And you got to sound sexy, and you got to do it in a character voice. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Nope, nope,
Um,
nope. See,
what
this
what
is
if?
why you're the narrator and I'm not, because even when
Yeah.
I have to like listen to the audios that my narrator sends me, I'm like, oh, I feel gross. Like I wrote that. Ew.
A couple of books ago, a couple of projects ago, was a daddy book, and like I had finally come to the end of my rope. I was pissed at the end of every session for like a week straight, just because of the constant fucking daddy over and over again, and I really had to come to terms with it because I'll tell you what, I like I like this gig a lot. It's my favorite thing to do. I like it more than anything I've ever done in my life. It's a career, and I enjoy it. And I'm
Hmm.
gonna have to get around the daddy thing. So I think I've figured out the way. We shall see. I will give you an update in a few weeks because I'm sure I got
There
another
we
one coming
go.
up here very soon.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure they're popular right now too. I mean, it's going to be hard to get rid of it. Even mainstream authors, they're like
well,
still getting in
I
there.
I've asked so many questions, and actually, it's one of the little tricks about how I'm getting around it here is, um, it's not the dynamic. See, here's my problem. I had two problems. One was the daddy and associating with my father, and the two was this weak dynamic of I need someone to take care of me.
Hmm.
I thought that was a weakness. And I was actually shown the light by one of Nora's characters a couple books ago, the same book that pissed me off really bad. Not that it was a great book, she did a great job, but it was just daddy, daddy. So the dynamic of that character actually, he wasn't weak per se at all. It was just simply something that had happened in his past, and he needed help on a daily basis to be able to structure his life. It made perfect sense to me.
Hmm.
It made me be able to connect to the character in a way that I still managed to get through this, and it helped me kind of work around the daddy thing.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to see the characters in a different light with this now, and I
Hmm.
think that I've had the wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, and please, everybody that's watching, please, I'm not getting a fucking daddy, all right? But I I I think I see the dynamic of that relationship in a
Hmm.
different light and in a different way. And that took me a long time. There was a big struggle with that old daddy thing. If there'd be a different word for it, like poopy, oh, great,
The,
awesome.
the a lot of people struggle with the power exchange in any relationship because you look at the submissive and people want to say they're so weak that they need that person to control them and they don't have a power, and that's so far from the truth because the submissive really holds the power. The submissive is the one who says in a healthy relationship how much control and power they are willing to give up, and they can stop that at any time. And the dom is there for that to give them what they need, but they can't take more than the submissive can give or needs either. And I think that that is a really hard concept for a lot of people to wrap their minds around, that it's not that a submissive isn't a weak person. My books, I have a lot of my subs are very non-traditional. I've got one where he's a country musician. Um, I mean, he is in control of everything all the time. And at home, that's the place he doesn't have to be in control. Um, I have a lot of middles anymore, and I love middles. Like that's a newer one for me, and that's just it's a lot of fun because it's not the daddy the daddy boy relationship there is just a little bit different than it is with a little, or even with just the titles of daddy boy, where there's no age play involved. It- I have really, really enjoyed writing middles. I think I probably have like four of them now.
I'm gonna have to interrupt you because I've heard of littles. I think I
Mhm.
understand what that is. What's a middle?
A middle, you're looking more around like the ages of it varies, but 5 to 14, 15.
So they're still they typically a submissive, obviously, and they're still seeing
Yes.
themselves and acting in the role of a child. Basically, is what's going on.
Younger, yes, but not
Okay.
necessarily the diapers and the bottles and the it's hey, it's video games. It's um crazy blocks. I have one who's God, the guy is a freaking genius and he can't shut his mind off. And so he has these Legos and he's like he gets up and he's like, I'm going to get my electrical kit, and his boyfriend's like, oh, no, you don't need an electrical kit for Legos. Like, sit your ass down. He's like, but no, I can light up the house.
That's I you know not that I'm. We have this running joke. Not that I'm going to go read one of your books because you haven't paid me, but still, that's an interesting
Fair
concept.
enough.
Yeah, but I gotta. We're coming up in Jody's,
I
but
see.
I've got dinner coming up, is what's going to happen.
Oh,
But
there you go.
I have to ask. And by the way, this has been a wonderful conversation. You're welcome anytime you want. Please come back.
Well,
But
thank you.
what are you working on right now? What do you got coming up?
Thursday, Seeking Sunshine releases.
Ta-da!
And yeah, and then next one up is Traded. It's going to be the first book in the Nashville Grizzlies series, which is a hockey team.
Excellent. I didn't think it was a Bears thing, but it could have been, as far as that
It
goes.
could, hey, you know what? Could have been. With me, you never
You
know. But
never know.
you never know. I haven't jumped into the shifters yet. But hey, no, the Nashville Grizzlies are a hockey team. Very
Nice.
kinky, very gay hockey team. I have the gayest little area in Nashville that you will ever come across.
I've been to Nashville quite a few times. There are some gay areas in Nashville, believe it or not.
There are. I,
Uh,
I visited for the first time a couple of weeks ago, actually, after, 17 books based in Nashville. I was like, might be time to actually visit Nashville.
Maybe I should go. I was a stone's throw away, literally across a creek from Nashville just about a week ago. But anymore, I don't go into the cities or anything like that. Or just Tennessee, not Nashville. But I Jeep. I go off road. We go camping and stuff out in the middle of nowhere. And I was like looking at the map. I was like, holy shit! Right across that creek, that's Tennessee right there. But anyways. I digress. I've missed a lot of comments, guys. I'm sorry as always. I think you all are getting used to it that I can't. I have a hard time keeping. I'm about as ADD as you can fucking get, but I'm trying. So if you could, Carly, if you get the chance in the next couple of days, jump into the comments and see what questions I missed because I'm sure I missed some,
Sure.
and people would greatly appreciate you responding. Yeah,
Alrighty.
past that, thank you all for hanging out and have fun. This is the easiest part, Carly. All you got to do is wave at the camera. See y'all later. Have fun.
Bye.